So mission critical customer support. I feel like that's kind of taken on new meaning during this time. As we have all been adapting to this global pandemic, what's become really clear is that it's more important now than ever before for businesses to be able to communicate and collaborate effectively. So before we share details on how our two companies, Genesys and Google, have been helping customers during this time and how we look ahead to the future, let's take a moment and level set on what exactly the problem has been that we're seeing with companies that we've been working to help solve. So Rajen, maybe I could start with you. During this crisis, what is your perspective on what you've been seeing across specific industries? What have they been needing most in order to stay responsive to the customers that they're serving?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think that COVID-19 has profoundly affected all of us, and every single business out there is touched in a unique way. In particular, as it comes to being responsive to customers, where we've seen a lot of demand is that healthcare and government organizations are especially hit hard, and not surprisingly. The amount of demand that they have from their customers in order to be able to serve the needs of people that are out there, keep people healthy and maintain operations has been overwhelming. And so I think that's one of the areas that we've seen need the most help. And definitely there's a lot of needs in other places. Financial services, banks have been seeing a lot of increased customer contacts for many, many different reasons: transportation, hospitality, public health, lots of different areas as well. And so I think that we've seen this need across the industry, but I do think that there are particular areas that have been most hard hit, and then every organization.
Yeah, we've seen needs across those industries as well, as they're trying to manage and handle demand, as well as transitioning their workforce maybe from work from home too. So Rajen, when were some of the first measures put in place with Google to start to support those companies? Do you remember?
Yeah, good question. So we started to do that almost at the very beginning. And of course, at the very beginning of this, we thought about how do we keep safety for our own employees, and then how do we maintain the operation so that we're able to help our customers. And then we really started to think about how do we help our customers and how do we help the world. And I'll tell you, it was probably one of my proudest moments of being at Google. And I've been at Google for 15 years, and this is one of the things that made me most proud to be here, that the entire company rallied to try to figure out how do we help people and how do we help our customers. Other projects were put on a stop to make sure that we were doing things that were going to immediately help customers. And so we've been then rapidly releasing products and innovations that can help customers do things very quickly and get implemented very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And Merijn, I know that we've seen both angles of wanting to help companies support their customers, but also help them support their own employees. So what problems have you seen that we've been looking to solve from the Genesys perspective?
No, actually, a little bit like you explained it. Right? What we saw is that customers were suddenly faced with two problems. They had to take care of the safety of their employees on the one side. On the other side, they are facing a volume of customers that are looking for certainty, for answers to questions and queries that they had. So where you normally have one of the two to take care of, suddenly you have two of them. And while you're trying to get your workforce to work from home, make decisions that allow that and do that in a secure and in a fast way, you're also taking a look at what your customers are trying to achieve and getting those outcomes managed as well. It was like a double dip in your problem. And we called it, kind of funny enough, flattening the curve already in February and March, where you got this spike in volume that you wanted to manage down. And that's kind of what the problem was that they were facing. And how we engage with that is trying to take a really good look and listening to our customers. What is it that you need? Really, what is it that you need?
And what were some of those, you mentioned a couple, but what were some of those attributes that they were really needing? Like fast was one, I think you mentioned. What else comes to mind?
Yeah, fast was certainly one. I think that the main one was flexibility. A lot of people going into COVID-19 and still, by the way, don't really know where that would lead to, right? So am I doing something for the next day, or is this something that I need for the next weeks or months even? So I need flexibility. I need flexibility in my commercial setup. I need flexibility in my technology setup. I need flexibility in my employee setup as well. So I think that was the key word. And you didn't have time. You couldn't sit on that for 3 months, procrastinate a little bit, and then see where you wanted to go. So these customers were under pressure of time, and hence flexibility combined with speed, I think, were the two keywords initially in what we drove into our customer base.
Yeah, and I would add to that, even like easy comes to mind. No commitments, free. Yeah. Those were, I think, attractors in this time of uncertainty and needing something fast too. So yep. I think the problem's pretty clear, right? They needed to manage demand, many of them, while transitioning their employee workforce to work from home, like we did at Genesys as well. Rajen, as we went down this journey to help companies and the industries that you mentioned, tell us more about how did Google respond to the needs of those companies?
Yeah, so we talked a little bit about especially healthcare and government were especially affected, especially in terms of their being responsive. And so that's where we focused initially, was how do we help healthcare organizations and governments so that they can take care of people's health and take care of their citizens. So the first thing that we did was we worked on a rapid response virtual agent, which is essentially taking a lot of the technology that we have around conversational AI and packaging it in a form that is able to very quickly answer questions about COVID for our customers and make it so that they can then customize it. And the biggest thing, you talked about how do we do this fast and how do we do this free. We focused on how do we do things that can be implemented very quickly. Like how could people deploy things in the course of days, and how could we actually get something out there in less than 2 weeks? And we're able to get this out there in less than 2 weeks and start to get that. And it was really a lot of the partnership here with Genesys that really helped that as well, because together we were able to bring this into the operations that people have right now and make it so that this could be deployed very, very quickly and could get up and running and really help people right away.
Yeah, and we certainly valued partnering with you to help companies in that way. So what did you see in terms of how quickly did those efforts start paying off in addressing those customers' needs, Rajen?
So the great thing is we're able to get a pilot up with our first customers in 2 weeks. And actually some of the customers that were deployed even before we launched, because we worked very closely with them to start off with. And we found that within many of these, we were able to get people up and running in 1 to 2 days. And so it's the kind of thing that people could get going with quickly. And we really focused on how do we have that very quick entry point, and then how do we make it so that people can customize from there and start to do more and more. And so we were able to get to that very quick entry point, soon after the crisis really started.
Excellent. And so I can totally see how that helped in managing demand by being able to have that virtual agent address those key questions without having to necessarily involve an agent on the other end. Merijn, maybe you could share a little bit more too, beyond partnering with Google on the virtual agent. What else did we do with Genesys Cloud to also address the work from home and transitioning to a remote workforce?
I think that we did it in a certain order, right? I think that the first thing we wanted to do as a company is to together with our partners like Google, and thanks very much for that. It was super helpful. But also take care of our employees and our customers. And with our customers, I mean customers that were already Genesys customers. So we decided to not go out into the market with all kinds of discounts, etc., but really focus on what our customers needed by asking them, how can we help? And I think that the narrative that we felt was the one that we really believed in was just to go out there and ask our customers, is there anything that we can do to help you? And that's how we listened, and that's also how we got the feedback on what to do. So very quickly, we delivered commercial flexibility, so bursting, work from home licensing, without ever even asking about it. Second thing we did is make our cloud available. So we made our Genesys Cloud available to all our customers for work from home agents, for extra capacity, for outsourcing whatever they needed. They could do it in our Genesys cloud. And we got it up and running in 48 hours with a fairly straightforward, easy to deploy package, which really benefited those customers that needed it most. And that resulted in beautiful stories, I think. So I'm very happy that we did it that way. When we learned that, we also decided to take that offer and bring it to other customers that we didn't have as customers yet and say, listen, it's working for our customers. If you want to use it, be my guest or be our guest. Come onto our platform and take a look and let us help you.
Absolutely. And I know Rajen mentioned it was one of his proudest moments. I've been with Genesys for about the same time, Rajen, as you have with Google. And it was certainly a proud moment for me as well, as we all rallied to support too. And Merijn, I'd love your perspective as well. What did you see in terms of how were partnerships key to our execution?
Well, so we are a very global company, and I think that the main element that partnerships give us is global reach wherever you want to go, wherever you are a customer. We have scale because of our partner network, because of our integrators, because of our value-added resellers, because of our strategic alliance partners like Google. It gives us incredible global scale and reach, and hence the opportunity to wherever you are. And as we all know, a pandemic is everywhere to help you. Which I think we think mainly thanks to our partners.
Absolutely. And I've even seen too where our partners were partnering with our partners during that time as well. So it kind of scaled out even more, which was fantastic to see. Rajen, do you have a favorite customer story of a success that comes to mind?
Yeah, it's a good question. So, I think in particular, some of the deployments we've done with healthcare organizations have been great, because you can imagine how many people have been calling in and trying to get answers. And so we've been able to make it so that we've been able to stem that volume quite a bit, and make it so it's been scalable for them, that people have been able to get their answers. We've also been working with a lot of government agencies, and that's been really interesting, because in many of these cases, people are calling there to get answers, much more so than they were before. And because they need urgent information, and this gives them a way to disseminate that urgent information in a very easy way.
Merijn, what's your favorite story?
Yeah, I've got a couple, and I think the good thing is I speak like lightning, so I can probably do 15 use cases in the next minute or so. But I think when you look at our company and when you think about brand, it's a lot is about people, right? And I think that, as you said, we're very proud to work for companies like Google and Genesys. I think that was really what we see in those stories as well. And the first one is the city of Helsinki, that is already a customer actually, where our account executive actually reached out to the customer and said, listen, is there anything that we can do to help you? And they said, they came back to us, we would like to have capacity and a platform that allows us to call to our senior citizens, a vulnerable group in this pandemic. So we got that up and running for them over the weekend. So that was one really good use case. The second one, I think, and it's close to healthcare, is nonprofit. So we had a beautiful implementation actually run by almost Genesys volunteer-like implementers for Cleaners, which is a food bank in Indiana, that we were doing a fundraiser for, that we asked, is there anything more that we can do? And they said, well, we'd love to have a platform that allows us to engage with the people, which we did and built over the weekend. 3 people in marketing actually did that. And the last is a really tiny little micro story, but it's kind of the story about why it's so important that we as humans do the right things. Is that a person that was actually filing for unemployment benefits with one of the unemployment agencies here in the United States was waiting for his chat. And as we all know, the volume was sky high. So he noticed that the chat was supported by Genesys. So he decided to go to our website and chat with one of our sales development reps. And it's difficult for us, right? It's where empathy comes into play and where you show empathy to that person, because it's a rotten situation that he's in. And we decided to help him. Our sales team stepped up. We engaged with the customer, and he filed his unemployment benefits through a complete workaround. But I was very proud to see our team stand up and take care of that citizen in his hour of misery. Empathy did really work. He reached out to us afterwards and said, thank you very much. I was very impressed with the service that you guys delivered, completely outside of your normal scope. So,
I love all those stories too. Thank you. So, Now we're kind of, I feel like, sort of through the first wave, and we look ahead to what's being called the new normal, right? So, Rajen, maybe you could take a few moments as we face the new normal in supporting companies sort of in this next phase. What has all of this taught you at Google, and what do you predict might change in the future as a result of all this?
So I think there are a few things. One is the deployment model and how customers are taking in technology. And I think one of the biggest interesting lessons that we've learned is that we can do things very, very quickly with customers and get people up and running fast. And that has been a partnership between partners like Genesys, Google, and our customers to really start to essentially rewrite the rules and figure out how can we actually get things up and running quickly, and how do we do things that can be done in days as opposed to in months. And that has been really amazing to see. And I see that continuing. I think people will start to look at what are ways that they can incrementally bring in technology to really help them. The other thing is that I think it's introduced people to a set of technologies that even as we go back to normal, will continue. So, for example, a lot of the intelligence behind contact centers has made it so that contact centers have been able to scale. And, for example, healthcare organizations have been able to answer questions a lot better. Doctors have been able to handle more patients through combinations of phone and video and text. And so things like that are things that are going to continue. I think that has let us cross the chasm in terms of some of these technologies and get people really used to it, to the point where I think people see what benefit that's going to have going forward. And so I think those innovations and kind of those bridges that have been crossed will continue to stay there.
And I know Merijn and I were talking the other day, and you made a comment, Merijn, that innovation and ideas often happen in radically crazy times. Yeah. And I think that that's absolutely true in these times too. So at Genesys, I know that we're looking to support the new normal for what's now and what's next for our customers too, and help them be ready with a cloud solution that can be agile and support their needs and whatever the new normal and the new normal looks like. So I think we're actually running short on time, so I'll just wrap it up. If you want to learn more about kind of what else Genesys can do to help in creating a strong business continuity plan or enable a remote workforce, I encourage you to check out our breakout sessions. And thank you, Rajen. Thank you, Merijn, for your insights and your partnership too, Rajen. We really appreciate it.